Oh hey, welcome to Ultra Life. Cody here. This video, I want to do a walk around of my 1995 Jeep YJ and the current status that it sits in. If you've been following along with this project, you probably have already caught up to date on where we're at, but I've had a lot of questions lately on some of the parts I've used, what my plans are, and everything that's going on with this Jeep. So I figured I'm just gonna make a video talking about it and where it's at, where it's gonna be, and maybe talk about where it came from. So if you wanna see that, stick along with this video and we're going to get into that. But it's a beautiful day outside, so instead of trying to show everything in my garage, I wanna get it pulled outside where we can see things a little bit better. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, it doesn't run or start or steer or hardly anything, so yeah, it's not gonna pull out on its own weight. Now I could push it. Last time I pulled it out, I used Lauren's JL, but I'm off work today. She's not off work, so the JL's not around. Guess we're gonna have to go fire up my other tow rig to pull this thing out of the garage. So real quick before I start showing everything around the Jeep and talking details about it, I just want to talk about where it kind of came from and how I got into the Jeeps per se. Rode dune buggies growing up, had four-wheelers, had dirt bikes, but for some reason Jeeps never occurred to me. And then a couple years ago, all my buddies started getting into the Jeeps, and then I went out to Bantam Jeep Fest with them, with their Jeeps, and I was like, yep, I need a Jeep. So that was, June 2017 was the Bantam, and then July 2017 is when I bought this. So the very next month, we drove out to New Jersey, picked it up, and this is what it looked like. So it was completely stock, 1995 YJ. It had a 4.0 straight six with a 5-speed AX15, and it was just your normal everyday stock YJ. I quickly proceeded to put 33-inch tires on it, stock leaf springs, took off all the chrome, and rode it like that for a little bit, and we did a trip up to Roush Creek. Went to Roush Creek, had an absolute blast, but
don't worry about that. Don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that. Oh my God! Back up a little bit.
Hey babe,
Don't worry about that.
Hey babe, there's a rock there.
Don't worry about that. Yeah, keep going. Right. Driver a little bit. We're gonna come up and over. This one's gonna hurt. Down. Alright. A little bit more clearance. Now you're gonna have to bump it over that log a little bit, maybe. There you go. Oh, you're on the log. Look at that.
Oop.
Driver, got a rock over there. And you're free.
the Jeep in stock form with 33s did not like it. That first trip I bent both the stock front leaf springs, and from there I knew I needed to upgrade some stuff, just like everybody who owns a Jeep that wants to do stuff to it. Then I put a set of 35s on it, had a lot of fun with that, but it was still lacking in some areas and I wanted to just improve it. So slowly started improving it, and then I ordered a bunch of motorboat parts. Well, my buddy Alex, Built JL on Instagram, he is doing a 1-ton swap on his brand new 2018 JL, and we took that down to Motobuilt January, February of last year, 2019.
What are you thinking, like sideways?
Yeah, probably.
And with that, we came back with the axles from the JL Rubicon. So I bought those off him, which kind of that's where the snowball started. And it snowballed more into me getting the '01 Chevy Silverado, took the 5.3 out of that. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna get into today, is I wanna talk about everything that I've done to it to this point, what my future plans are, and try to answer some of the questions I've been getting, messages about. So without further ado, let's jump in and we're gonna start from the front and work our way back. I'm gonna try to touch on every part that I've put on, as well as maybe some information. So I'm gonna start, yes, the Jeep is very dirty. But we're gonna start up here. So the hood louver, here is the Highline off-road hood louver for the Jeep YJ. I got that a few years ago at the York All Breeds Jeep show. Headlights, Amazon. I have a lot of questions about these. So these lights I got off Amazon as well. I'm gonna try to put the link in the description below if I can find it, but I saw these and I was like, man, I think they'll fit. And it turned out they fit in that spot pretty good. These are just white LEDs, but it has a strip of amber LEDs that I wired into my turn signals. I just wanted to wire these to a separate switch, but never got around to it yet. Don't know if I'm keeping these for the final build or not, but we'll see. But there's the tabs that mount the stock light. I just lined up where the holes were, drilled 2 holes and ran the bolt, and it worked. So I got those both off of Amazon. Stepping back, I have a video on my install on this, but this is the Moto-Built front full width conversion kit for the Jeep YJ. I'm gonna put the part number somewhere in here. If you go to the website, you can look that up. Just kind of do a quick view of that. So with this kit, it is a reverse shackle, and you can see the shackle is now back there on the frame. And again, if you go to our channel, go to the playlist section, I have the Altered YJ playlist, and you can go through and watch all my videos that lead up to this point on this project. Let's open the hood and see what we got under here. With the Highline hood louver, it has a template that lets you drill out the holes, and you drill out these bigger holes and then cut in between to cut the big sections out. At the time, I wasn't sure if I needed those bigger holes because the 4.0 ran fairly cool. So I didn't cut them out, but I think for this V8, I'm going to finish cutting those out. That way I can get the heat from this motor out of this engine bay. But as you can see, this is what the engine bay looks like currently. That harness is the factory YJ harness, so that will be getting removed, and I'm going to be getting a standalone wiring harness for this motor, and I'm still not quite sure what company I want to go with yet for that, but I'm going to figure that out still. Fenders wise, I plan on upgrading the fenders. I would really like to go to a Highline fender. I'm crossing my fingers that Moto-Built will make very similar ones that they do for the TJs, for the YJs, because I really like them. But we'll see. Again, this motor is a 5.3 liter LM7 out of a 2001 Chevy Silverado. And then hooked to that, it's a Turbo 400, but we will get to that. Back here, I want to try to show you a little bit. Those fog lights, that is how the bolts come through. I drilled the hole through the little tabs there, and it's a 3-wire that comes out. So it's not too bad. And then the headlights from Amazon were just a factory plug. I'm gonna have to redo all the wiring for everything in this Jeep. Okay, going down underneath here, we have a Luna. But as I stated before, this is a 2018 Jeep JL Rubicon front axle, so it's the M210. So yes, this axle does have a FAD or a CAD, whatever you want to call it, so a front axle disconnect. I will not be using the FAD in this setup. I know a lot of people are, worried about this FAD, and especially running 40-inch tires. But there's a lot of JLs out there that are running 40s on the stock axle, and they still haven't broken anything. As you can see, I am doing a spring over setup. These are just OEM YJ 5-leaf leafs. I have them on the same front and rear. I'll get to the rear then. But yep, that is the front axle setup. So here I do plan to gusset these Cs. I want to do a truss. I already have the Moto-Built front diff cover for it. These spring perches are the Moto-Built leaf spring perches. And then as for steering, I plan on going full hydro. So I only have this tie rod on temporarily, just so it's easy to move the Jeep around the shop. But I will be replacing all of this with a full hydro steering system, more than likely from PSC. Now, I want to do a high steer setup on it to get that ram up out of the way, but I feel like I'm gonna have to do some custom stuff here. I still have the cast link mounts on this front axle. I haven't cut them off yet just because they weren't in my way, but I do plan on cutting them off. I still need to get new U-bolts, U-bolt plates, all that. I'm just kind of working with what I have for mock-up. But this front axle, I know it's tilted a little too far forward. I got to tilt it back to get that 10 degree of caster is what I'm going to be shooting for, so we'll see. Since we're under here, we can see there the motor mounts for this 5.3 are the Novak motor mounts for the Jeep YJ. So they're designed super easy. Again, one of my previous videos, I show me getting those tacked in place to get the motor set in. I stripped the frame all the way down, removed all factory brackets that I don't need anymore, and welded in some rusty areas and just kind of cleaned up the whole frame the best I could. So I'm trying not to make this video too long, but I also want to try to get as much information that I think you guys would want to know out there. So while I'm here, I want to just get a couple quick measurements to the ground. So from the bumper to the ground as we sit, about right at 28 inches. To the bottom of the leaf spring hanger, we're at 25 inches. Let's see here. To the bottom of the diff, we're just under 15 inches, so about 14 7/8 to the bottom of the diff there. And the steering measurement's not gonna quite matter as much because that's where it's gonna be. So those are just some quick measurements for you to get where the height is with the spring over on OEM leafs and 40-inch tires. My last video is actually when I got these, but in case you missed it, these are 40-inch Milestar Patagonias, and these are the black label. So these are the stickier compound tire. They are sitting on some Battleborn Gatekeeper beadlocks. Those are the Moto-Built rock sliders with the tube step. Now, this is not installed yet. All this is just bolted to the body mounts. I actually did not install these. This is kind of just to give me an idea for mock-up and what it's going to look like. I will be doing an install video on those. I'm just not at that stage yet. But we're going to start getting underneath here. As you can see, there's a Turbo 400 hooked to the Atlas 3.8-to-1 transfer case there. Now let's climb underneath and we can get a better view of everything under here. Okay, I still have to get the correct flex plate for the torque converter on the Turbo 400, so I still need to order that. Another look, you can see the Novak motor mounts again, as well as part of that reverse shackle setup on the Motobuilt kit. And then moving back, it's Turbo 400 and my custom transmission mount that we made out of 2 JL front control arms. And here we go back to the Atlas. There is the Atlas. Now everything is only tacked in place, the motor mounts, the transmission mount. A lot of things are still only tacked in place because I was doing mock-up and I wanted to make sure everything fit. As you can see, I had to cut a lot of the floor out to make that fit. But yep, I still have a lot of parts that need to go on that and to make everything work. While we are here, as you can see, getting a side profile view, nothing on the transmission or transfer case sticks below the frame. The only thing that is sticking below the frame, as you can see, is the oil pan for the motor. But I plan on getting a different oil pan. I think, if I read correctly, that the LS3 oil pans are 4 inches shorter and they'll work. You just got to change out your pickup and all that other stuff. Yeah, we're getting there. I'm attempting to not run a body lift on this. That's why I cut the floor apart. I'm trying to keep the center of gravity low, and it's a challenge, but we're getting there. So we're gonna get some measurements here from ground to the frame. I know this isn't the most accurate because I'm on stones, but from the ground here, I'm at 25.5 inches from ground to bottom of the frame, which is pretty dang good. Now, from ground to the bottom of the slider, we're at 29.5 of ground clearance there to the slider. Plan on doing a full flat belly skid plate that more than likely I'm going to probably be custom making. Again, that's all in the future, and I'm kind of just going with the flow on this and hoping everything turns out. Moving back to here, again, I cut all the factory brackets off of the frame. So these are the Motobuilt rear spring hangers, and I relocated them, I'm gonna say 6 inches back, because I did the Motobuilt rear stretch kit, which is a 6-inch stretch using XJ leaf springs, but I wanted to stick with YJ length leaf springs. So I got the new spring hanger and moved it back accordingly with the stretch. So it should be roughly about 6 inches moved to the rear. Again, only tacked in place just in case something needs adjusted or moved before final burn in. Again, I've had a few people tell me that, you know, if I would just go with a body lift, I wouldn't have had to cut the floor this much out, but I don't want to run a body lift. I had a 1-inch body lift on this, and it worked. It was good, but it's already at a good ride height as it is. And I know if I change some springs, it may be a little higher because they're not worn out springs. So I cut the floor to allow the room for the transmission and transfer case. And I still need to cut the floor some more, because as you can see, this drive shaft is not going to clear with the floor there, as well as the rear drive shaft. So I'm going to have to remove that, remove some floor there, and I plan on making a custom floor over, as well as I'm doing a custom dash, center console. I'm going to tie in my seats. I plan on running PRP seats. I'm going to tie them into the cage. I'm going to be doing a custom roll cage and everything. So that's where we're at with that. We're going to keep moving back. If you saw, again, one of my last videos, I did the Motobilt corner armor with the comp cut. So installed the comp cut there, all the way around. And then with the comp cut, I did the below the tailgate rear armor. And that leads down to the Motobilt stretch kit with the Jeep YJs, using the OEM 5-leaf YJ leafs and my awesome U-bolts, aka ratchet strap, because I did not have U-bolts that fit around the diameter of this rear axle, which, again, out of the 2018 Jeep Rubicon, Jeep JL Rubicon, so this is the M220 rear axle, and the diameter of the tube is much thicker, and I still have to do some work back here. I'm pretty sure the diameter of this axle tube is the same as a 14 bolt, and the leaf spring perches I ordered were not the right diameter, so I clearanced them out with the flap wheel, but not too happy with it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to order Motobilt's U-bolt eliminator kit for the 14 bolt, because I'm pretty dang sure that it's the same tube diameter, and then I'll just do a full U-bolt eliminator on this axle. And then once those are set, I'm going to try to do a truss that ties everything together. I have the Motobilt rear diff cover that's going to be going on this as well, and lots of fun stuff. Oh, I didn't talk about this on the front axle, but the gears in the axles are still the stock 410 gears. I'm going to try to run the 410 gears with the V8 and the Turbo 400. I think the gearing should be pretty good, because this Jeep's not going to really be an on-road Jeep, but we'll see. I may have to upgrade to maybe 513s because of the 40s, but I'm not quite sure yet how the V8 output with the Turbo 400 and all that other jazz is going to work yet. So, still have a lot to do there. Fuel tank wise, there is no fuel tank under here because of the stretch kit. Any sort of articulation up would hit where the fuel tank was, so I plan on doing a Motobilt fuel cell right here behind the seats. I have that already. Shut up. And yep, here we can see there's my transmission cross member, and at this angle you can really see how well the that cross member gets everything above the frame. So it should be way more protected, especially once I have a flat belly skid plate in there. I'm hoping to do a CJ drop down tailgate in the future. I don't have that yet, but we're getting there. Oh, with the rear axle, I plan on doing chrome moly shafts with the truss and everything to help strengthen that. And I don't know if I said it in the front, but on the front axle, I am doing RCV shafts, the one-piece shafts, to delete the FAD, so the FAD is no longer functional or anything. It's all going to be a one-piece RCV shaft. Nothing else on this side. This is what the Jeep looks like without the slider mocked up. You can see I kind of painted there. There was a big rusty hole I patched and just threw some paint on it so it didn't rust. As for the back here, I plan on hopefully doing the Motobilt Highline fender tops to get this up out of the way to give more clearance for down here. The taillights are, again, another Amazon special taillight. I really like these because they have the white reverse light in the center, and then there's a solid red all the way around. So I'm a big fan of those. Again, if I can find the link, I will post it in the description below. What else? Because I cut out the factory cross member where it mounts to the body mounts, you know, here and here, I plan on doing a new cross member in, probably with some DOM tubing once I get all the DOM for my cage. So I'm gonna do a cross member, and then I'm gonna try to triangulate that cross member with some more DOM to the back of the Moto-Built stretch kit there, just trying to triangulating the frame in the rear to hopefully, again, make it stronger. You know, if I ever get tugged out of here, just to make things more rigid. So in the rear here, as she sits to the bottom of the rear bumper from the ground, we are at 29 and looks like right a little bit below 29 3/4. Then to the bottom of the rear diff, about 13 7/8 to the bottom of the diff there in the rear. Can't remember what I said the front was, but about close to 14. Let's see, what's our clearance? Bottom of the leaf spring, about 27 3/4. About 27. So we're a little bit lower on that side, but it could be the springs or something, I don't know. These axles do have the factory E-lockers, so I plan on using them. And I'm going to try to run all the electronics off like an S-Pod or a Switch Pros or some sort of style like that. Again, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm going to just kind of go with the flow as the build progresses. As for shocks, I don't know what I'm going to do for shocks yet. Maybe some Fox 2.0s or something. On the rear here, I'm going to try to outboard the shocks somewhere and get them up high, because I really don't want anything to hang below the rear axle. So all my tabs, all my mounts, everything, I'm going to be mounting above the axle, so the lowest point is the diff. I do plan on doing a traction bar or anti-wrap bar, or whatever you want to call it. So I have to figure out the cross member for that, run the bar there. Trying to think of all the questions that you guys, I should have wrote everything down, the questions that I had. Wheelbase. I know wheelbase is probably a question someone had, or if I can remember, someone asked. I think a stock YJ is 90, I think it's 93 1/4. This is 103 1/4. It's exactly 10 inches stretched over a factory YJ. So the stretch kit again in the rear did about a 6-inch stretch, and the reverse shackle, I'd probably actually like to a 6 to 7 inch stretch in the rear, and then the reverse shackle in the front did about, I think, a 4 to 3 inch stretch in the front, keeping the factory YJ leaf springs. I feel like I'm missing stuff, but I can't think today for some reason. But I wanted to get this video made, that way I can answer some of the questions, because you guys wanted to see some of the things. Well, my camera died, so I had to run in and get some juice back in the battery. And then while I was waiting, it looked like a storm was rolling in, so I pushed the Jeep back inside so all my bare metal doesn't get rained on and start rusting. So that's a quick-ish walk around of everything here. I'm sure I missed some information that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sure you guys are still gonna have a lot of questions about stuff. With that, I don't want this video to get too long. Probably longer than I want at this point, but I also wanted to try to answer those questions that a lot of you had and just show the parts off and show the progress, because I know I like seeing other people's builds because it gives me ideas, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that this build gives you all ideas for your builds or motivates you to get some more work done on your projects or whatever it is. And making these videos for myself motivates me to keep going as well. But if you do have questions I didn't answer, go down in the comments below. Leave that question. I'm going to do my best to answer them all and get back to you guys. If you want to see more of this build or see some of the prior videos, go over to our channel, hit that subscribe button, and then go to the playlist option and select the Altered YJ playlist. And you can go ahead and watch the videos that I have leading up to this point. If you want to follow me on social media, on Instagram, I am _altered_YJ, and you can keep up with me on there. I try to do some updates on stories and pictures a little bit more frequently than these YouTube videos come out. So yeah, there's ways to follow the project if you're interested. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up though. And if you didn't like it, give it the dislike button, but make sure you tell me why you disliked it so I can improve myself. But with that, I'm going to close it out here. Thank you for watching Altered Life. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.